Hey guys, I'm going to do a quick demonstration for you on how to do the head first mitt cast on and some of the important stitches you might not already be familiar with. So the first step, you can see that I've taken one of my double pointed needles and I've cast all of my 40 stitches onto the needle. See that? So it's easiest to put them on first and then divide them into your double pointed needles. So I've got the 40. I'm going to take my next needle and I'm just going to roughly divide by 3. So I'm going to put about 13 stitches on every needle. So I'm just going to slip them over like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now the important thing when you're starting a project on double pointed needles is to not twist your stitches. So I'm going to be really careful to not jumble the needles around. I'm going to kind of try to keep it on a flat plane, if that makes sense. So then I'm just going to pick up my next needle and I'm going to pick up the next 13 stitches and slide them over onto needle number 3. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So now I've got my stitches divided onto 3 needles, and then this last needle is going to have 1 extra stitch. Now very carefully, keeping it all again on the same plane without twisting anything around, I'm going to flip this so that I can have the working yarn attached to the ball in my hand, ready to connect these 2 open ends together. So I'm gonna arrange the needles so that I'm ready to knit this stitch to that one. That's how we're gonna connect this into the round. So I'll put my yarn in the back. I'm going to pick up my 4th needle. This is going to be my working needle. You're always going to have an empty needle when you start to the next one. I'm going to go in to that first stitch, and the first thing we're going to do is a knit 1 purl 1 rib. So being careful not to twist. Take the working yarn and wrap that needle and knit it. Then put your yarn in back. And you can see I'm working these stitches over onto my empty needle. I know this looks really crazy and it feels very fumbly, but as you get the work going, it's going to become very natural. So double pointed needles are really just like working with the circular needle and the round. The difference is when you get down to just a few stitches, if you were on a circular needle, you couldn't stretch all the way around to the other end when you start decreasing, like for the top part of a hat, for most hats, and for really tiny work like mitts and socks. This lets you get down to having as little as 1 stitch on each needle, but you're still working in the round. So see, I'm just gonna go along, knit, purl, knit, purl. This makes a nice little stretchy ribbing for the cuff of your mitt. It's called a 1 by 1 rib, knit 1 purl 1. Now you might get to the end of one of your needles, and because it's an odd number, 13, oh wait, this one had 14, never mind. But if you get to the end and you have an odd number like 13 stitches, you may want to go ahead and slip one from the next needle to this needle so that you're always working with an even number of stitches, as I am with this one because I've got 14. Then when you finish one of the needle stitches, you're going to have a free needle again, and so you're just going to move to the next needle, and you can tell because it's connected to the stitch you just finished, you can tell that's the one you need to go to next, and you're going to start working with your free needle. And so each time you complete a little part of a round, like 1/3 of the round, you're going to have a needle that's empty, and that'll be the needle that you start knitting onto for the next one. So you just keep going round and round and round, knit, purl, and I'll show you. We get to the end of this one, and I'll show you what happens because we are going to have an odd number, if I counted correctly. Now as you go along, you know, the work, you want to make sure, I like to slide the work to kind of the middle of the needle so it doesn't slip off as you're working. So if you notice that the work on any of your needles is too close to the tip, you can just slide it to the middle. Then when you get ready to work that needle, you can just slide it up to where you need it to be to start the next needle. So here we go, knit, purl. Oops, that one started to come off. Knit. And then what you can do, if you like to keep things even, you can just steal one of the stitches, slip it over from the next needle. Oops, sorry. Got to do it onto an empty needle. Onto your empty needle. Yarn it back, purl it, and that'll keep it where it's knit, purl on every needle. So there you can see I'm going around, and I would go ahead and complete this next one, but for time's sake, what I'm going to do instead is go ahead and skip to the instructions for the setup round. So if I were to go ahead and knit, purl, I'd be back to the beginning, and you know you're back to the beginning because the tail marks where you very first started off. Or you can place a marker. When you place a marker for the beginning of the round, you want to place it one stitch in, otherwise it's going to go sliding off all the time every time you've got to switch needles. So I keep it one stitch in from the actual beginning. Makes it a little easier if you have those clip like safety pin type markers. You're going to put it right there, so that'll let you know that, okay, I just finished a round, now I'm ready for the next round. I've just completed all 3 needles. But let me go ahead and show you then how we would work the first setup round if we'd gotten back to the beginning. Let's see. So what we're going to do for the very first setup round, the instructions are knit 3, SKP, knit 5, and then we're going to do a little repeat section. So here's how that would look. You're going to knit 3, and SKP means slip, knit, pass, slip stitch over. So how that works is, it looks like this. You're going to slip a stitch knitwise, you're going to knit the next one, and then you're going to take your needle and pick up the one that you slipped first and pull it up and over just like if you were doing a cast off. So that's a decreased stitch. Okay, then you knit 5. And then it's got to make 1 left. And the instructions are on your pattern for this, but what make 1 left means is you're going to pick up the bar that's in between the stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and let me show you this on the next part. It'll be a little easier to see what I'm doing. Oops. You can kind of rearrange as you work around to be comfortable with what you're doing. But let me just show you what a make 1 looks like. Get to a better spot. So what you want to do is you're going to pick up the bar that's in between the stitches, and with a make 1 left, you're going to pick up from front to back like this. And then you knit through the back of the stitch. So what that means is you go in like this, like you're going to knit it, wrap it, and pull it back through. And what you did was you just increased a stitch somewhat invisibly, working with the bar that's in between the stitches. And then if I were to continue with this pattern after I've done the make 1 left, I would do the knit 3. Then I've got another SKP. So again, it's slip, knit, pass, slip stitch over, and then knit 5. Now because that little section is in brackets, where it says repeat 3 times, what you're going to repeat 3 times is what is in the brackets. So you would go back to the make 1 left, knit 3, SKP, knit 5. You do that part 3 times. You do not repeat the part that comes before the brackets, just the part that's in the brackets. So that gives you the basics of how to get these mitts started.